If you would like to achieve more in your life, please type AM in the chat box. Thank you, Samir. Thank you, Shubhashish. Only 2 people. Joyita, thank you. Let's wait to see if anybody would like to achieve more. Thank you, Dasari. So today's session, if you would like to achieve more in your life, then today's session is absolutely the right thing for you. And thank you for taking out time and joining us on this Saturday evening at 4 o'clock. We really appreciate your joining us today in this power-packed session with Dr. Nupur Agarwal. Dr. Nupur Agarwal is based out of London in UK. She's a certified mindfulness teacher and a clinical medical hypnotherapist. She's worked with NHS hospitals for more than 5 years and has done a lot of research which has been published and has also won awards. So we are very happy to have you with us, Dr. Nupur.
Thank you so much, Ashish. Thank you. It's my pleasure. And a huge thank you to each one of you for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nupur. And the session today is being sponsored by InsureSure. InsureSure is an insurance broking organization which is started by professionals with over 100 years of experience in insurance. So if you have any insurance requirements for corporate or for your personal needs, please feel free to connect with them at the numbers which are mentioned below. They are licensed by the insurance regulator to carry on this business, and in a short span of time, they have insured assets worth more than 10,000 crores. So absolutely rocking insurance broking company. Moving on to the topic of the session today. But before that, I would like to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Ashish Kumar, and I'm the founder of Mindful Living. I started Mindful Living in 2018 with a mission to help 1 million working professionals lead healthier, happier, and wealthier lives. In the last 3 years, we have conducted over 250 sessions for organizations like Tata Group, IBM, Times of India Group, Aditya Birla Group, Hero Honda, Kotak Life, SDFC Life, EXL, and many other organizations. So with that introduction, I would like to pose you a question. There are 2 types of participants in the session today. One who join the session, keep their camera off, they listen, they are silent, distracted, doing other things, and then they leave. And then there are type 2 participants who listen, who, just give me a minute, who join the session, who listen, who participate actively by asking questions, discuss, debate, carry out activities which are asked for by the speaker, encourage other participants, and share feedback. So please share with me whether you are a type 1. If you are a type 1 participant, please type T1 in the chat, and if you are type 2, then please type T2 in the chat box. So please let us know whether you are a type 1 or type 2 participant. This will help us curate our session today. So I'll repeat the description. Thank you, Parthoda. Thank you. So I guess Parthoda is type 2 because he's responded, he is actively participating. Shubhashish is type 2. Thank you, Shubhashish. Geeta is thinking. Okay. A lot of type 2. Rishi is type 1. Okay, thank you for being honest, Rishi. Vibor type 2. Thank you, Vibor. Very good. So please decide for yourself, and we look forward to your active participation in the session today. And with that, we move to the discussing about the mind, and the mind is such a powerful thing, and most of the times we don't pay attention to it because we are usually only using the conscious mind consciously, which is about 10% of the mind, and not paying so much attention to the subconscious mind, which is about 90% of the mind. This is something which you may have heard of and known earlier, but what is not as well known is that the subconscious mind is 1,000,000 times faster than the conscious mind. It processes data 1,000,000 times faster than the conscious mind. So it's very important for us to be aware of what are we putting in the subconscious mind. And another very interesting fact about subconscious mind is that it does not filter information. So it accepts everything that we put there as truth, as a fact. And that is why it becomes very, very important. So with that backdrop, I'd like to ask Dr. Nupur if she would like to share more with us about what conscious and subconscious mind is, and why it is so important for us to be aware of our subconscious mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ashish, for that wonderful introduction to the session today. Subconscious mind and conscious mind, as this picture is so evidently depicting, what we are operating from, the part of us that is logical, the part of us that is analytical, that is the conscious mind. It's what we are right now engaging to listen, to understand, to interpret. So that part of our consciousness is the conscious mind. However, if you look closely to the picture, the majority of this iceberg is submerged. So it's only, I would say, 25% of the iceberg, which is above the visual field. It's the conscious space. And the one that is below, unseen, submerged, that much is your subconscious mind. And also, they are very connected, they were interlinked. So a lot of times, the conscious decisions that we are making, the choices that we have, are influenced by our subconscious mind. And it's a very fascinating study. The more you go deeper into it, the more you realize that actually we are very pre-programmed beings. Very few of us, till we realize that we need to step out of our conditioning, we are being programmed by our subconscious beliefs, subconscious programming. Now, what programs our subconscious mind? Subconscious mind is also the seat of our emotions. It is a very visual, it is very emotional, feeling-based energy space from our minds. And throughout our childhood, this subconscious mind is absorbing all your experiences, all your emotional reactions, all your emotional states, like a sponge absorbs water. It's very literal. It's almost like a child. A child cannot pretend it wants an ice cream now. You tell a child you'll give an ice cream after 3 days. It's not bothered. He or she is not bothered about 3 days. You give it now or you forget about it. And that's exactly how a subconscious mind works when we are from the time when you are born, actually. And I would go back further also. For those of us who believe in reincarnation, now there is enough proof, scientific proof of that. Our subconscious mind also has records of our past lives, so to speak. There is a wonderful book by Dr. Brian Weiss. If you haven't picked it up, I would really urge you all to pick it up. It's called Many Lives, Many Masters. That's a book by Dr. Brian Weiss, who's a psychiatrist. And he had a very resilient patient who wasn't responding to many other modalities. So what he thought was that, let me try hypnosis with this person. And this was literally his last resort, to try hypnosis with this person, with his patient. And as he started doing hypnosis, she regressed, and she regressed straight and slipped into a past life. Obviously, this was a very depth in-person session, which was meant to be very deep. And for Dr. Brian Weiss, he was not a believer of past lives. He didn't even ever think about them. But once the patient regressed so deeply and started revealing information, not just for herself, but also relevant to Dr. Brian Weiss, he was taken aback. His entire scientific mindset and his own programming was shaken. So that's the power of our subconscious mind and hypnosis, that it can really start to unravel a lot of secrets for us. So any questions, any thoughts, anybody would like to ask any questions on the conscious and subconscious mind?
Dr. Nupur, that was very interesting. And while we're waiting for the questions to come from the audience, I would like to ask one. You mentioned about Dr. Brian West using hypnosis to, treat this patient who was not responding very well. We have heard this term hypnosis, but I'm not sure if we really understand what this means. If you could elaborate a little bit on about what hypnosis actually is.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we are talking about our conscious and subconscious mind, our conscious mind is something that we all are very aware of. As I said, this is what we are using right now to understand, interpret, logically analyze. Now, subconscious mind is a space that is not very easily accessible to us. But once we can access it, it can really help us to reprogram a lot of our tendencies, beliefs, and thought processes. And for that purpose, to access our subconscious mind, we need hypnosis. Now, some of the other ways of accessing subconscious mind are repetitive work. And this, like typically when people say that they are doing affirmation practices, that is also affecting their subconscious mind. But one of the most direct and one of the most fastest way to approach your subconscious mind is through hypnosis. Now, what is hypnosis really? Hypnosis is a state of focused attention. It's a very natural state that we all dip into and out of through the day many times without realizing. You must have experienced that there are times when you are so engrossed in an activity that you lose track of time. It could be doing something that you love, or it could be something which is very important and pressing, like an emergency, or it could be something as simple as driving your car. These are states. While you're driving your car, what happens is just a lot of times when you're going on a very familiar route, you sometimes are thinking of something else, and you just don't realize when you reach home. You don't realize each and every turn that you've taken perhaps to reach home. That's the time when your subconscious takes over. So subconscious mind is a seat of, it's like the hard drive of the computer. It really stores data and information. So it has stored the information. This is the way to reach home. So this is the way you can consciously bypass. You can be daydreaming, but then the subconscious takes over. Now, why is hypnosis, as I was saying, is a state of focused attention, which you can dip in and out of when you're doing your hobbies, your work. Sometimes if you often listen to people who are painters or musicians and artistic, they would say, I didn't know where time passed. I was so engrossed in doing my art that I don't know where the time passed. So that's the state of hypnosis. That's a state of focused attention where there's a dimming of the peripheral stimulation. That means everything around you gets subdued. And it's a complete focus. You may also have noticed sometimes when you're so engrossed in something and somebody comes and asks you, would you like a cup of tea? You don't respond because you perhaps have heard it, but it's not registered. That's again because the peripheral stimulation has dulled down for you because you're in that focus state. Now, the same focus state is what we clinically or therapeutically induce when we are taking somebody through this process one-to-one. So we are trying to achieve the same state, focus state of attention through some guided suggestions and verbiage that a person slowly starts to relax and is able to access your deeper subconscious mind. Our intention is to bypass the conscious mind, because a lot of times we are quite, I have seen it a lot of times in my patients and in my clients. They want to achieve something, but they are not able to. So no matter how much you try, you say that I really know that I'm not supposed to be eating this. I'm addicted to sugar. I know I shouldn't be doing this. I'm scientifically very sound. I understand it, but I'm not able to stop. Now, why is that happening? At the conscious mind level, cognition is fully operational. It's understanding. The person is sensible, understands, but there is subconscious stuff that needs to be dealt with. So what do we need to do in a state of hypnosis? Is bypass the conscious mind and reach the subconscious mind directly. And that's what we do in a therapeutic or a clinical setup when we are inducing a state of hypnosis.
That's very interesting, Dr. Nupur. You mentioned about hypnosis being a focused attention state, and something which can be used by people to break unhealthy or unproductive habits, addictions, or for peak performance. So those are two very strong areas. And also, you worked a lot in the hospitals, in treating cancer patients, and using hypnotherapy with cancer patients. So could you talk to us a little bit about how your experience with using hypnotherapy in clinical setting?
Absolutely, I would love to. So I have worked for almost 5 years in this space in the hospital and NHS here in London, specifically working with cancer patients, dealing with a lot of side effects of chemo, radio, and surgical side effects, and also helping the family members. Sometimes, the family also goes through a lot, their carers, when they are going through these, some challenging diagnosis like that. We must understand that our physiology, our body functions at multiple levels. So if I want to pick up this mug of water, this is something that is a voluntary action. I'll extend my hand, the muscles will contract, and I'll pick up that. So that's a voluntary action. Now, most of the actions that are happening in the body are involuntary. It's called, autonomy. It's autonomic. So now, it's very interesting to understand that we can influence the language and the rhythm of our own physiology once we know how we can speak to it. And one of the ways by which we can communicate to our own physical processes in the body, to our own well-being, is through hypnosis, by planting suggestions in the subconscious mind. So in that deep state of hypnotic trance, we implant certain suggestions, which are then like instructions to the body to behave in a certain way, and we also then work through power of suggestions and through the power of the belief that the person has. And we tend to alter their perception of the condition. So perception is the way we are looking towards the world. That's a very powerful thing, So suppose a person has pain in certain part of the body. Now, what we would do in a state of hypnotic trance, we would ask them to give the pain some physicality, some structure. Now, we are multisensory being. We have eyesight. We have the ability to touch, smell, taste, feel. We are kinesthetic. We are multisensory beings. We use all these multisensory perceptions in hypnosis. And we would ask somebody to, okay, so if you're having pain in this part of the body, tell me, how does the pain, if you could give a three-dimensional image to the pain, what's the first image that comes to your mind? Now, when they have something tangible, because pain is a perception, it's not tangible. Yeah. So when they have something which is a three-dimensional representation of their physical discomfort, whatever that may be, we can alter it. So they may say it feels like a spiky ball, which is throbbing, which is hurting, and it's a very dark in color. So what do? We engage the subconscious mind to give more voice to that sensation, and then we start to manipulate, and manage it in such a way that it becomes more manageable. It becomes more easy for him or her to deal with that. And also, I have noticed, so one of my patients had become waterphobic after chemoradiotherapy. She wasn't able to drink water. She could have only water in the form of fruit juices or some additives added onto it. And just after 2 to 3 sessions, after many months, she had the first sip of raw H2O, as we call it. What we take it for granted. So that's the power of understanding that we can communicate to the intelligence of the body by first releasing trauma, by first asking the subconscious to release wherever they have got stuck with their traumatic beliefs and traumatic patterns, telling the body that it's okay to release them, reprocess them, and then give the suggestions to allow the body to accept things back. Also, a lot of times I have worked with head and neck cancer patients, And typically after radiotherapy, chemotherapy, they are not able to eat and swallow. Their swallowing reflex, their drinking reflex, is affected. So once, things like actually asking the body to reinstall salivary glands and reinstall the salivary function in the body, somewhere that had got affected. So when we speak to that intelligence in the body and ask it to redo it, it starts to slowly starts to reprogram the body to produce those chemicals and those substances. And that's very powerful, and that's something we have seen also in phobias with these patients. A lot of people have phobias, so dealing with phobias is very powerful with hypnosis and subconscious work. Any questions have come up? I did see something in the chat that came up.
Thanks for that, Dr. Nupur. We've got a question from Devinder. He asks, does a thought once planted in the subconscious mind, would that thought have its benefit impact in the conscious state of mind?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what happens is subconscious mind is automatically registering a lot of our beliefs, and unconsciously that happens, right? Now, unconsciously, it's always happening, and that's what makes us who we are. A lot of times we say, this is the person I am. This is the person I am. I have these likes and dislikes. I like this. And a lot of times we can't give a basis to our likes and dislikes. A lot of times we can't give basis to our choices that we make in life. That's all because we have subconscious programming underneath that's going on, impacting our choices, our belief systems. Now, when we can reprogram our subconscious mind by giving the thoughts and suggestions that you would rather wish to believe, and you would want them to be your truths, to become more powerful, to become more impactful. A lot of times we see that hypnosis is very effective for people who are into sports, because no matter, sometimes despite your practice, despite your efforts, there is a part of your subconscious mind that is also not believing that you can outdo yourself, you can break your own records. Or there could be a subconscious belief implanted at a very young age by well-meaning adults in our lives that you cannot go beyond this level. It could have been your coach, it could have been your own parent or a teacher. So we set those subconscious limits, and consciously, because this conscious mind is determined and in a way maneuvered by subconscious, we are only limiting ourselves to that level. Till we go and break that and implant a new thought, it becomes very difficult to go forward. And that's why subconscious work, hypnosis, is used extensively in performance enhancement, whether it's public speaking or sports or such places.
Interesting, Dr. Nupur. You mentioned belief a couple of times. And belief operates in the subconscious, in the area of subconscious mind, and it impacts behavior. So what we see is the behavior, and but what we need to work on is the belief, which is in the subconscious space, which I'm not aware about. So how does hypnosis help in identifying the belief and reprogramming that? Could you throw a little bit more on, how do we identify our limiting beliefs, and then how does the process of hypnosis work?
So that's a great question. How do we identify a limiting belief is by recognizing if there's a pattern in our life that's recurring. It could be a pattern in the space of your finances. It could be a pattern in the space that no matter how hard you're trying to do something, you're putting your 200%, but the returns are not as exponential as they should be. So there is a mismatch, and it could be in relationships. It could be in all areas of our life. When we feel that there is a pattern and no matter what you're doing, it's not resolving, know that it's something that to do with your self-sabotaging limiting beliefs. Or it could be a subconscious thought that needs to be changed. Now, what happens in a typical session of hypnosis is when ideally you should go to somebody who's really trained and ethically trained, because this is a field that can be very taken very lightly by a lot of people who would just do diplomas online and claim to be hypnotists or hypnotherapists. So be very careful. You choose somebody who has a sound background when you are going to them, and through the therapeutic process, they'll be able to reflect to you that what, this is the space where we need to work on. This is something that, this is an area that you need to go deeper into, to uproot it, to recognize what's going on. And obviously the person who's leading the discussion is you, always the client, the patient, because you're the best person and the best judge of what you want to achieve. And unless you are completely open to change, hypnosis does not work. So I work a lot with addictions, and I've had cases with smoking addictions, to be very specific. Now, this will work only when you want to make it work. So it was a very fascinating 3 cases that came to me in the same 6 months. One person wanted to quit smoking, like go cold turkey. And another person just wanted to reduce it. They were saying, I'm doing too much, so I want to reduce it. And the third person was sent by their partner to forced to send to be sent to me, not really wanting to lose and stop smoking. Exactly what each of them wanted happened. The person who wanted to quit and was a chain smoker quit in 5 sessions. And he was very skeptical, because a lot of people feel that hypnosis is something that you lose your control in. That's one of, we'll come to the myths and all later on. But he was he thought that this is not for me, but I'll still give it a try because I've tried everything else under the sun. He was very keen to make it work, and he quit in 5 sessions. The other person wanted to reduce. He managed to reduce, bring it down to almost 45%. I think I always have follow-ups. By 6 months' time, he was almost 50% down. And the third person, no matter how many sessions we did, just didn't quit. So that means, do you understand how stubborn our subconscious mind is? So with limiting beliefs, understand that you have to want to change. Unless you have the awareness, the willingness, and the motivation to change, your subconscious mind does not open up. No matter how good the other person is who is steering you through the therapy, it just doesn't open up. So recognizing your limiting beliefs is very important, and being willing to change them. It's a teamwork, I would say. So you work together towards all this.
That's a very interesting point, Dr. Nupur, that the subconscious mind, if it is stubborn, then the hypnosis doesn't work, because there are so many myths people have around hypnosis that somebody will overtake their mind, do woo-woo, and and we have seen that on videos.
Turn you into a chicken. Yes.
Yeah, people turn into chicken, people quack like a duck, and so many things happen. So could you tell us a little bit about the myths around hypnosis?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something I have spent more time busting myths probably in the beginning of my career than anything else. And because I was a part of the medical team, so doctors are the toughest nuts to crack, because they would not let me go near a single patient if they felt that this was woo-woo or this was something that patients are getting more vulnerable in, because here things are everywhere in the world, but more so in this part of the world, you have to, I had to interview for almost 1 year in hospitals and prove credentials through case histories to prove that this is something that is very ethical. Even though there must have been 25% people on board but on the panel, but you have to get 100% people on board, right, to get into the space in a hospital. And some of the myths, Ashish, that most people think is that hypnosis does not work. It's a stage gimmickry. And it's sad because it has been used very loosely by a lot of con artists, stage artists. There's nothing wrong in all of that, but then that gives an impression to people that this is something which is just meant to be for fun and entertainment. And that's where people quack like a duck and are made to do all kinds of funny things. Also, I believe that press has not been very kind. And secondly, what matters most in hypnosis is research. We are getting such amazing research. In fact, my own research pilot got published. I had presented it at the British Association of Surgical Oncology, and my research pilot got published. The abstract got published in European Journal of Surgical Oncology of the work that I've done. That's only because now people are understanding that we can't just down people with medication. You know, medication after medication is not the way forward. We need to understand that there are other tools that can make them very self-reliant, you know. And once you understand that this is a scientific tool, there is no question that you will be asked to reveal the bank account details and your credit card numbers and, you know, debit card numbers. This does not happen, because understand that your subconscious mind will never reveal anything, no matter how deep you are in trance, unless you really want it to, you know. So there is an inherent filter which is there in us, which protects us. Haven't you noticed that sometimes when you are going and somebody comes too close to you, or even from behind, there is you'll just know if somebody's staring at you. You'll just look up and you'll notice somebody staring at you. You were looking down, but the very fact that somebody was staring, you look up. So there are a lot of subconscious workings that are happening in the background that keep you safe. But also, I must say that always go to a practitioner who's thoroughly trained, because there are a lot of shortcuts that people can take, you know, which I would never recommend. And the biggest myths come because of people who are not professionally trained. So I would say choose your practitioner well and do your research, but don't be scared. It's a very powerful tool that can really enhance your well-being. So do give it a go if you ever get a chance, and if you ever feel that you're stuck somewhere, or you would just want to enhance your ability in a particular area, or get over some addictions or habits.
We have Parthuda who has raised his hand, but before I go to Parthuda, Dr. Nupur, I would like to ask you, you mentioned about people learning hypnosis and trying it on their own. And you also mentioned about people going to certified clinical hypnotherapists, who are accomplished in there. So, I'm not really sure whether I should make an attempt at learning it and improve my performance, or break my habits, or deal with pain, or should I go to someone and take, so what's the way you would recommend?
So I would say that if you, depending on the challenge that you're facing in life, having a one-to-one session, nothing replaces a one-to-one session, which is very powerful. And it takes a few multiple sittings to, really start to reprogram your subconscious mind. But there are certain skills that you can learn in hypnosis as well, which I would teach self-hypnosis to each and every patient of mine. It's a state, it's a self-help tool, and you can learn that self-help tool to manage yourself to a certain level and to a certain extent, which is very good. It's something that you can use to do visualizations, to enhance your ability to take your affirmations deeper. So I would say, if a person does not have a very acute problem, or a very chronic issue, they can definitely learn self-hypnosis and enhance their well-being through it as a well-being enhancer. I would always do so. I would typically see my patients in the hospital for 5 to 7 sessions. Even privately, it would at least take 3 to 5 sessions. And I would always teach them self-hypnosis by the 2nd or 3rd session, once they get comfortable and know what to do, because the intention is to make you self-reliant. The intention is, so a lot of times my patients who would be undergoing blood transfusions, or they would be going to dialysis or radio, now at that point they are left alone. So they are on their own. At that point, if they have tools to help to calm them down, to think positive thoughts, and to also be, sometimes we call something called dissociation. What does dissociation mean? Dissociation means that physically you are there, but you have checked out energetically. So you are completely transported to a different realm through the power of hypnosis, and the body can go through what's going through, but you are actually roaming around in a beautiful mountain, and you're in hills, to the point that you don't even know that you are there going through the treatment. So that's called dissociation. And dissociation is a phenomena that I would never teach in self-hypnosis unless they have taken 2-3 sessions with me. Because, you have to understand that this is a tool. And just like any other tool, in inexperienced hands, it can be a little dangerous. So yes, self-hypnosis is taught for people to enhance their well-being as a well-being enhancer. And it's very powerful still.
Thank you, Dr. Nupur. That helps. Parthada, please.
Yeah, so Dr. Nupur, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
You have been mentioning the two aspects, the two parts, the conscious and the subconscious, right? So conscious and subconscious, while there is a split, are you suggesting that the conscious needs to agree that he requires a change? That's one. Even before he comes for the diagnosis and for the treatment. That's one. Secondly, the one term that you used is association. So is it a disassociation from what he wants to go away and then associate again towards what he wants to do? Is that that's what you are suggesting? And the third question is, can we as a hypnotist suggest to a client regarding the change so that he accepts it or the suggestions easily?
So I would start by going from the last question. As a hypnotist, I would never suggest a change to a client unless it's coming from him. A change that is self-motivated is the only change that can actually be re-engineered in the subconscious of the person. And that's the reason why I say therapeutic alliance is really important, because unless the person who is doing hypnosis is trained to guide you in a way where you can self-reflect and self-understand that this is what I probably need, and this is probably what I need to let go of and release, because subconscious work is both releasing and reprogramming simultaneously. And that's what happens in hypnosis. Unless we release something, it's very difficult to reprogram over the old patterns. So it's very important that we do that, So it's a very therapeutic alliance. And once the person is on board about changing, then yes, you trigger that new behavior by implanting it in subconscious mind. Yeah. And the second question was about association and dissociation. So yes, dissociation happens. Dissociation is a self-preservation mechanism that we are all born with. A lot of times when you speak to trauma victims, and hypnosis is used a lot for PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, trauma victims say that something was happening to my body, but I had left. I had dissociated. It's a self-preservation mechanism that happens within in ourselves. In extreme trauma cases also that happens. Also, so what happens is therapeutically, we can teach a person to be somewhere else from the subconscious space, yet while they're undergoing some treatment. So, like certain times they're undergoing a particular biopsy, which is very, very painful. So you teach them how you can do that. You obviously guide them through it for 2-3 sessions, and then you teach them how to do that on their own so that they can dissociate mentally, consciously from what's happening in the moment for them, like a biopsy or a radiotherapy or something. And then you teach them how to come back, and you reassociate into the physical form. Body is there, just mentally you're teaching them. It's a very powerful technique. Then that's exactly the power of hypnosis. You can do so much, such amazing. It's like when you are visualizing something. I can ask you right now, you're sitting here, visualize you are in a beautiful hill station. Nothing stops you from visualizing. You can really visualize to the T, the details. The same ability to visualize is enhanced 100 times through hypnosis in subconscious activation state. So that's what can be done. And if you remind me your first question again, please.
So my first question was, while there is a split between the conscious and unconscious, also is there a link between the conscious and unconscious, so that when there is a change in the unconscious stage, it is also transferred to the conscious part?
Absolutely, absolutely. They are very related. Conscious mind is just transmitting the information from the subconscious mind, right? So subconscious is the driver. We say it's the driver, and conscious mind is just taking cues from it without filtering it and just reacting to the signals that it's receiving from the subconscious mind. If you are programmed, and the first 7 years of our lives are we are very, very, very suggestible. That's why they say the first 7 years of your life can really shift the way you are shaping an individual. So be very mindful. The first 7 years, our subconscious is like an open book. It just takes in everything that's thrown to it. And so sometimes you may say, no matter what I'm doing, I am not able to get past this habit. It could be a small thing, but that habit has got instilled in your subconscious at a very young age, perhaps. And that's why you are acting out on those patterns, because they have become, your neural networks have got so ingrained in that space. So conscious mind takes cues from the subconscious. And that's why when you do reprogramming of the subconscious mind, when you change those beliefs and you impart suggestions, like the smoker. Now the smoker wants to quit smoking, desperate to do it, has been told that you need to do it you literally have only these many months before your lungs completely get taken over. That's when the person is desperate, but he's not able to do it. Consciously he's wanting. It's when we start doing the subconscious work that the conscious starts to reflect that, yes, he stops. So the conscious behavior starts to get impacted by subconscious reprogramming. Wonderful. So anybody has any more questions, you can ask me. Also, one more thing before I do a small experience for you to understand how this, I will do a slight exercise for you all to experience a state of deep relaxation. Also, I would like to say that now we know that our mind doesn't understand the difference between real from imagined. Now, through a lot of neuroscientific studies, this has come forth that fMRI studies that we don't know the difference between what is actually happening and what is imagined. So if I ask you to look at an apple and we measure an area of the brain that lights up when you're looking at the apple. And if I ask you to imagine an apple, without looking at a physical apple, I ask you to imagine an apple, the same areas of the brain get lit up. So that's a very, very powerful realization that we are receiving that goes to say that the mind doesn't know the real from imagined. So imagine what you can do by instructing your mind in a positive way. It starts to believe your states of suggestions. It starts to believe the information that you're putting in, and that becomes your reality. So things don't have to change physically for something to shift in your life. You can first imagine it, reprogram it, and you would be amazed at how then it translates into the real manifestations, because our brain is so powerful and now we know it. So all of this leads into this. I can go on and on. Again, there is a very deep science called psychoneuroimmunology. Psychoneuroimmunology is also a deep science. If anybody is very interested to explore it, it talks about how our mind impacts our physiology. We have an entire chemical factory within us, and we can really impact it through our mind. And hypnosis has a big role to play in this field of psychoneuroimmunology, because now we are realizing that we can bring about physiological changes in the body through hypnosis, through the power of suggestions. Right? So if there are any questions, write it down in the chat. Otherwise, we will just move towards a 5-minute relaxation practice to experience a bit of whatever we can tip our toes in. And let's do that. Is that good, Ashish? Okay. Now, if I know most of you are with screens off, so I don't know what you're doing, but just be careful that if you are listening to this, you're not driving, and don't do it if you're doing any driving or operating anything like a knife or heavy machinery. So just be very mindful. Otherwise, just switch off or mute me so that you don't listen to me for the next 5 minutes. Okay, so we'll take up the questions. Ashmita, I'm seeing your question. Let's take it up after the exercise. Yeah. All right, so let's just close our eyes for 5 minutes. And relax. Allow yourself to get more and more present in this moment. Deeper and deeper, aware of your experience in the here and now. Notice your breath as it moves into the body and out. And with each out breath, have the intention to let go and relax. More and more. As the breath leaves the body, just have the intention. I release and relax. Allow with each out breath to release and relax. And with each in-breath, feel a sense of deep relaxation spreading all over you. Wonderful, deep relaxation with each out breath. Deeper and deeper, let yourself flow down. Light as a feather, going down deeper and deeper relaxed. Releasing all the tightness in the body. With the next in-breath, intuitively go to the area in the body where you're feeling the most tight, most constricted. And breathe out and relax from that space. Feel the tightness ease as the power of your intention is enough to let you relax deeper and deeper. Knowing that you're very safe. Allow yourself the space of deep relaxation. The more you let go, the deeper you relax. And the deeper you relax, the more you let go. Allow yourself to become lighter and lighter. Deep, deep relaxation. And today, know that you're allowing yourself to access your own subconscious mind by the power of your intention. Allowing yourself to go deeper relaxed. Deeper and deeper. As I will count you down from 5 to 1, and with each descending number between 5 and 1, you will go deeper relaxed. 10 times deeper relaxed with each descending number between 5. Going deeper and deeper into your own subconscious mind now at 4. Going down at 3, 2, and 1. All the way deep relaxation. And just for this moment, I want you to know you can relax and let go completely. And all the suggestions I give to your subconscious mind will be your reality, will be your truth. Knowing that from this moment in time, you are going to be more and more at peace, more and more clear-minded, and relaxed. That your body is harmonizing this relaxation and getting into a state of balance, regeneration, and restoration. All parts of you are aligning to feel a sense of balance and comfort. And as you allow the space of balance and comfort, more and more this becomes your reality. And this will be so. Allow yourself to feel a sense of deep safety and security. Bring to your mind a time in your life when you have felt very, very safe, very secure. Just think back of a beautiful time in your life, real or even imagine it, when you have felt very safe and secure. Let this become very, very vivid for you. All parts of you are able to make this very bright, very real experience, as if you're literally stepping into the sense of safety and security now. And as you do so, I instruct your subconscious mind to allow and absorb you into this feeling of being very safe and secure. Really see what you're seeing, feel what you're feeling, hear what you're hearing in this vision or a knowing. And know that you're very safe and secure. And from this day onwards, all that you will do will have an imbued, deep sense of safety and security, trusting that all is okay. Operating from a sense of deep safety and protection. And it will be so. And whenever you wish to, you can bring back this memory, this vision, this knowing, and it will recreate the sense of being safe and secure for you. So as you are feeling this wonderful feeling of being safe and secure, I want you to know that in a moment's time, I am going to start to count you up. And with each ascending number between 1 and 10, you will become more and more awake, more and more alert. You will start to open your eyes at the count of 10. And you will be fully back here in this moment in time, fully integrated with this new reality of being safe and secure, and all the positive affirmations that you have chosen for yourself today. Fully integrated, and it will be so. So starting to wake you up at 1, 2, 3, you're becoming more and more awake, more and more alert. 4, 5, and 6, all parts of you are fully aligning in this time and space reality, waking up, feeling these energies, these positive emotions. 7 and 8, opening your eyes whenever you're ready. 9 and 10, you are back here in this space, time and space reality, opening your eyes now. Wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. That's right. So slowly allow yourself to feel your toes and fingers. Just feel yourself back. Take a sip of water. Open your eyes, fully alert. And this was a very, very quick demo for you just to experience what entails in a hypnotic session. And this is something that we deepen very, very deep in a session, whether it's a session of self-hypnosis or a private session with a therapist. So I would love to hear from you. How did that feel for you? Were you able to engage with it? What were the challenges, if any? So feel free to switch on your cameras and engage. It's your time. Hi, Sini. Lovely to see your face. Beautiful, smiling, alert and awake.
Hi, Doctor. It was a wonderful experience, I must say.
Nice. So tell me, how did you feel? Was this your first time? This was just a a taster. I would say it's not even a taster. It's like literally tipping your toes and seeing the temperature of the water, literally. How did that feel, Sini?
It felt really nice and calm. In fact, as you started counting back, I didn't even feel like opening my eyes and coming back. I was feeling nice and calm, like, so I think it was really nice. Like, and first time I'm going through something like this, so I felt really nice
Wonderful.
about it.
Wonderful. Were you able to bring up a time in your life when you felt safe and secure?
Yes, yes. I was able to, and I was feeling that nice feeling of, that comfort and the warmth and a very nice feeling, like, a very,
Nice,
how do I
nice.
explain that? A very
No,
nice,
no, I know you don't have to. Don't worry, don't go. I know it's very difficult to say
difficult
these
to
things in
put it in
words.
words.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Thank you, Sini. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
Anybody else has any experience, anything else maybe you didn't feel? Yeah, I was dozing. Dozing is typically what we feel. This is a state like that. It feels like a sleep-like state. The trance is a very sleep-like state because our conscious mind doesn't know anything. Either we are awake or we are asleep. Now the conscious mind is wondering what happened here. So we call it sleeping like. Yeah. Yes, exactly. You will, because the subconscious mind was operating, so I will go blank. That happens, Matthew. Anybody wants to open their mics and ask a question, speak to me about that experience, please feel free to do so.
So there is a question, Dr. Nupur, that how is hypnosis different from guided meditation?
So hypnosis is, so guided meditations, if they are, a lot of time meditations are just music and you just do your own practice. Now in guided meditation, it's a very general, they're not taking you deep into the subconscious. So here in a state of hypnosis, it is target, as I say, it's a state of focused attention. It is going really, really targeting into your subconscious mind. We are going down specifically. It's a very targeted therapy. Meditation is something you would hear on YouTube. They are very general for everybody. The only purpose for meditation is to take you into a state of calm and peace. But here we are going beyond that, right? And through hypnosis, we are really it's a very targeted therapy. And even self-hypnosis, when you're learning, in fact, Ashish, maybe we can put up that slide of self-hypnosis. When we are doing self-hypnosis, it's again a very targeted therapy. You are being your own therapist right at that point in time, So that's what happens when you are doing self-hypnosis. It's almost like you are trained to be your own therapist. You have a set of instructions. You go deeper in your own subconscious mind. You reprogram your subconscious mind, right? And then you move, and then you re-alert yourself back. And it's a therapeutic stuff. It's not like with meditation, you don't have an agenda except to just relax. But here we have a deeper agenda. And, it's almost like speaking to your body. So, I always say that this is an art of learning to communicate with your own self. And with self-hypnosis, you can really tackle and deal with some very sticky and very persistent issues, which perhaps you will not be able to deal with in meditation. So meditation is great. It has its place, but this is a tool that is more therapeutically aligned and has an agenda. We get very specific with it. Yeah. So these are some of the benefits of practicing self-hypnosis. Once you learn how to do self-hypnosis, you can really connect with your own self. You can enhance the ability to be confident, your wisdom, manage certain habits, So self-hypnosis is more like an ability to manage yourself. It doesn't replace going to a therapist at all. It's not a replacement. It is an enhancement. So if you're not, if you have some simple challenges, or if you have some confidence issues, or if you feel that you would rather be better off and you would want some techniques to handle stress better, reinforce a positive behavior. Like somebody I knew was she was a singer, and she wasn't able to do stage shows because of her belief that she was not attractive enough on the stage. So because her teacher was her teacher was a very, very big personality, and he had an aura to him. He had a very, very visible aura as well. So she always felt little diffident there. So it was amazing to do just 2 sessions with her, and having taught her self hypnosis, how then she literally owned the international stage, with her performances. So this goes, it helps in many ways. That's all I can say.
That's awesome, Dr. Nupur. And so thank you, friends, for participating and sharing actively your feedback. For those of you who would like to benefit from this very powerful exercise practice, I'm happy to share with you that we are doing a workshop on 1st of October. From 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., which is after your office hours. So you can take out time to join this workshop and learn this very powerful exercise. I'm going to be there. I'm learning this myself to grow my business. As you know, that I run a very successful training company, and I'm scaling it up, and I'm scaling it up 3x in the coming year. That's my goal, and I'm using self-hypnosis to guide my thinking to achieve that. So this is very powerful, for many different reasons, whether it is enhancing performance or dealing with pain or medical issues or relationship issues or finance issues, whatever the issue you may be facing in your life. It's a very strong practice. We just concluded a very powerful workshop by Dr. Nupur on emotional freedom technique, and these are some of the feedback that we received from the participants for Dr. Nupur. And Geeta and Rishi are here. May I request you, Geeta and Rishi, to share your experience, about the workshop that you just did with Dr. Nupur? It would be great if you could unmute yourself and speak.
Hi.
Hi, Geeta.
Hi. So we just completed a course on EFT, and I think Dr. Nupur was just amazing. I have done workshops on EFT before. This was the 3rd one I did, and I think this was the most effective for me because Dr. Nupur explained the process, and she made it very simple, very, very simple. And now if I don't have to rely on somebody else to give me a script. I can just do this. And I think that's the best thing that a trainer can do for you, right? To leave you feeling enabled that, yes, I got it. I can do this. That's, I think, amazing.
Thank you, Geeta. That's so powerful. That's what you mentioned. And you know what? This is, I am trained like that. I am grateful to my teachers in my medical college who have told me that never, ever make a patient reliant on you. We have to understand that the people that we seek therapeutically or people that we go for, they have to instill a sense of confidence and self-reliance in us. And irrespective of who you go to, I'm not saying it's for me, but always choose a practitioner that is making you feel confident, positive, and self-reliant. And that's one thing which I always make sure that however we draft our workshops, and even if you choose to come for self-hypnosis, even though it will be a group, but I will make sure that I speak to each of you individually, and I will create your scripts individually, so that, though you are learning in a group, but you will still feel that it's very bespoke for you. And then be very mindful that if you have deeper challenges, then speak to me if this workshop is right for you or not. Even that I can help you and guide you through that. So yes, communication is the way. So if you decide to go, you please can reach out to me.
So thanks for that, Dr. Nupur. Before we go on to hear from Neena ma'am and Rishi, I'll just like to share with people that you can remit the fees by Google Pay or Paytm on this number, and share and let us type in the chat. The reason I've gone to this is because we got a query on how do we remit the fees. So this is how you can do that. So you can take a screenshot of this And if you are, there is an incentive for action takers. So those who are registering today, they get 500 rupees off. So you can pay 2,000 rupees. And if you're signing up now, the fees goes up to 2,500 rupees if you're signing up tomorrow. So going back to Nina ma'am. Nina ma'am, you are there. Would you like to please share your experience about the workshop you did with Nupur, Dr. Nupur on EFT?
Hi Ashish. Hi
Hello.
Dr. Nupur.
Hello, hello.
Sorry, my internet is not doing too good, so I am off the video. So I want to say thanks to Dr. Nupur. I don't think so I have ever missed any of Dr. Nupur's session. Starting from self-love and then later EFT, limiting belief, and all of them are very powerful. And I'm using tapping, EFT tapping for myself, and also, so she taught us the surrogate tapping, which I'm doing for my son and for my mother, and I'm sure it's helping them. So thank you so much, Dr. Nupur.
My pleasure, absolutely. Thank you so much for speaking up, Ninaji.
Thank you, Ninaji. Rishi? Rishi, are you there, buddy?
I think Rishi was saying he may be type 1,
okay.
so it's okay. Let's go to the
enough.
next one. Yeah.
Sure.
So also there was a concern about whether you can do self-hypnosis for others. Not at all. It's a practice that will be very, very specific to you. So this is a skill that you need to learn for yourself, and I would not recommend you doing it for others. If you want a session, of course, my details will be there. You can always reach out to me. Also understand that first, always, even with EFT, I would say that always learn it yourself first and then teach it to others, but not hypnosis, guys. I have spent 2.5 years training, so understand it takes a long time, and it's intense. So just for yourselves.
So the friends, you may be considering whether to sign up for this workshop or not. And I would like to share this very famous quotation from Albert Einstein, that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And, sometimes we just continue doing the same thing. And in fact, there is a lot of science now which says that our tomorrow is going to be the same as yesterday if I don't change anything today, because our thoughts, 95% of our thoughts are the same. So we need to manage our present, our thoughts very, very carefully so that our future can be better. And when it's not only our future that improves, it is the future of our family, is the future of the community we are part of, and the organization that you are part of, and the community you are part of, we impact everybody. It's not only about us. So whatever you decide, it's fine with us, but just be aware that whether you choose to stay the same or you choose to become better, both the choices have a consequence. So for your benefit, sharing the details of the workshop once again, it's on 1st October, Friday, 8 to 10 p.m. And a very small investment of 2,500 rupees, which will pay itself over many, many times. As I shared with you, I am using this to grow my business 3x in 2022 after having grown 3x in 2021. So it's a very powerful technique which I'm learning and practicing myself. Sharing the details of Google Pay and Paytm once again for your reference. Please take a screenshot, and 500 rupees benefit for action takers who remit the money today. And we open this up for question and answer. And before that, if you would like to take a screenshot of our numbers, you can do that. And this is the number. We are active on social media, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, YouTube. Our website is mindfulliving.co.in. So feel free to connect with us on the social media. And now open to any question and answers if you have.
Also, if I can add that we will be recording the self-hypnosis workshop. Also, with self-hypnosis, because you'll be learning it. So what we experienced today for 5 minutes, was a taster. So something like that would be almost 20 minutes long to 30 minutes long, which will be, you will be guided into, and that recording you should receive. And we also will plan a follow-up session at some point in time to help address your concerns. You know, having learned self-hypnosis, sometimes a lot of questions and answers come up. So we will also do our best to do a follow-up session. I can do it one-to-one with the participants, or we could do it in a group. But just know that, you know, when we do a workshop, we never leave you high and dry hanging in the air. We are always there with follow-ups, and we are always there. If you want to reach out one-to-one, we can do that, and guide you into even more resources. So if I feel that you need deeper support and you need more guidance, maybe, you know, I can guide you where you need to go for this. Maybe you need to see a psychotherapist, or perhaps you need to speak to your doctor. And this doesn't mean you will stop. If you're doing it for a medical condition, we will never change any medication. We never change. So there are so once you learn self-hypnosis, you can learn how to apply it in various aspects of your life, whether it is health, and we will be doing modules. So having learned the basic technique, we will go into the depths of doing it for pain management. Then we will teach you how to do it for, you know, releasing patterns and habits, to whatever extent possible. As long as it's not a very chronic and an acute condition, we can handle that. So it'll be a lot of fun, guys. So, you know, see if you want to, and even if you have somebody who you think will benefit from it. Like I have taught it to a lot of my own family, you know, aunts and uncles, because they were going through their own health issues. So if you know somebody, send this recording to them and see if they want to join us.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that, Dr. Nupur. So we've got a message that some people are having a difficulty transferring the funds. In that case, you can let us know on the chat that you're interested in, you know, joining, and then we can share a separate link with you after the call gets over. We have taken a note of your interest, so we will, you know, you get the benefit of having taken the action. Thank you, Nina ji, for joining, you know, joining this program. Really appreciate the path of learning that you are on. You truly, really appreciate the spirit. Thank you very much. And friends, we have a feedback. You know, we really appreciate your feedback. So we are sharing the feedback form with you. Please, it takes less than a minute. Please share your feedback with us. And, you know, we thrive on your feedback. So please take a minute and let us know once you have filled out the feedback form. While you're filling out the feedback form, would like to share with you that we have another fascinating session with you, you know, organized for you tomorrow evening at 5 p.m. So that's Sunday evening, 26 September, 5 p.m. Making marriage awesome. You know, marriage is a very important relationship. Our spouse is a very important relationship. But many a times, you know, we struggle, and you know, if things are going fine, it is good. You can still make it better. But in case things are not so good, please do come for the session tomorrow. We have a very experienced speaker who will speak from a lot of personal experience, and the subtitle is, you know, tu main se pyar tak. You know, so how can you make your marriage really awesome? And this is one relationship which impacts all other areas. You know, it impacts our health, it impacts our wealth, it impacts our career, it impacts our performance in every area of life. So please do block your time, 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. tomorrow. The session is by Rohan Singhal, and you know, you can you know, sign up for that. So we will also share with you the link to our WhatsApp community. We have a Mindful Living WhatsApp community, and that's where the details of the sessions that we do every weekend are shared. So if you would like to be part of the community and get updates about our future events, please you know, click on this link and join the community. Once you have done the feedback form, thank you, Samir, for sharing the feedback. I understand we are close to you know, the closing time. Thank you, everybody. Dr. Nupur, any closing words from you?
No, just that. Thank you, everybody, for your patience and your persistence. And the only thing, the message I would like to leave you with is that don't be intimidated by hypnosis. In the right hands and at the hands of a right person, qualified person, it's a very, very powerful transformational tool. So if you ever would like to go for it, I would say go for it. Find the right therapist. You can take my contact number. You can take guidance from me. You can come to me for sessions or wherever you want to do personal sessions. But always make sure that the person you're going to is well qualified, well experienced, and then take the plunge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Nupur. There is a question. I missed the program. Can I get the whole recording? Yes, of course, we will share the recording. We share the recordings in our WhatsApp group. So you can please click on the link and join our Mindful Living community. And we also share them on our YouTube channel, the link of which has been shared. So you can join that. And we anyway share it with everybody who's registered for the program. So thank you very much for joining us. Please look forward to seeing you tomorrow in the session at 5 p.m. Making Marriage Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Nupur, for a wonderful session on hypnosis and the subconscious mind. And thank you to each one of you for joining us today. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.
Thank you, Ashish, and thank you, each one. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Bye-bye.